If you want to understand how the next major global crisis could start, don't look at Washington. Don't look at Tehran. Look at the 21-mile wide strip of water, Strait of Hormuz. Because right now, that single choke point sits at the center of a fragile balance between the United States, Israel, and Iran. Every single player in this triangle believes they are preventing escalation while actually making it more likely.
I'm exiled to the greener grass, searching for the uncertain haze.
Welcome back to Choms Talks. I'm Choms, and this is a place where everyone has opinions, and opinions are like buttholes. Only difference is I like sharing my opinions. If you currently hear snoring in the background, please try to ignore it. I'm going to cut as much out of it as I can. But my new pit bull is currently sleeping in the recliner off screen, so she may be heard. Please be kind. Anyways, let's get into it. We are talking today about the Strait of Hormuz and why it matters. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important shipping routes on Earth. A huge share of global oil passes through it. That means one disruption doesn't stay regional. It becomes fuel price spikes, insurance shocks for shipping, global market instability, and immediate military response pressure. Now, layer on top of that an already fragile diplomatic situation between the US and Iran, a ceasefire style memorandum that is already under strain. You don't get stability, you get tension on top of tension. And here's the key question nobody can escape right now. Is the United States actually trying to exit this conflict? Or is it being pulled deeper into it by its own allies and adversaries? The United States right now is trying to do something very difficult: contain escalation without triggering a wider war. That means protecting shipping lanes, responding to attacks in a limited way, keeping negotiations with Iran alive, and avoiding a long-term regional war footprint. In simple terms, Washington is trying to keep the temperature from a boiling point, not solve everything, just prevent collapse. But that only works if other actors are operating on a similar tempo. And that's where the system starts to break. Israel is operating under a different set of calculations. Its security doctrine emphasizes preemption, rapid retaliation, and eliminating threats before they fully materialize. So when Israel takes military action against Iran-linked targets or regional infrastructure, it often sees it as removing future danger before it grows. But from a U.S. strategic perspective, the effect can be different because every strike can trigger retaliation cycles, expand the battlefield regionally, and complicate ongoing diplomacy. So, what looks like prevention from one angle can look like escalation from another. Maybe not because one side is wrong, but because they are optimizing for different outcomes. And this is where things stop being theoretical, because the next escalation doesn't need a declaration of war. It only needs one incident in the wrong place at the wrong time. Iran's strategy in this environment is not passive either. It has consistently used maritime pressure, proxy networks, and signaling in the Strait of Hormuz as tools of leverage. From their perspective, instability is not just risk, it's a bargaining power. But here's the problem: every time pressure is applied in the strait, it forces responses from the United States, from Israel, and from global shipping networks. And that response cycle doesn't stop cleanly. It escalates in steps. Now, this is where political messaging becomes part of the system. Senator Lindsey Graham has consistently advocated for strong, unconditional support for Israel, maximum pressure on Iran, and a willingness to use overwhelming force if necessary. And in moments of tension, he has even discussed scenarios involving direct U.S. control over strategic waterways like the Strait of Hormuz. Now, regardless of whether you agree or disagree with that worldwide, there is a structural effect. Because in a fragile system, rhetoric is not separate from reality. It becomes part of the signal environment. And Iran, allies, markets, and militaries all interpret those signals in real time. So the question becomes less about intention and more about impact. Because here's the part most people miss. In this region, nobody gets to define escalation alone. Everybody reacts to everyone else. And this brings us to a larger strategic question. If America first means avoiding long wars, protecting economic stability, preventing oil shocks, and reducing overseas military exposure, then there is a real tension when foreign policy rhetoric leans towards expanded military commitments, unconditional alignment, or rapid escalation frameworks. Not because alliances are the problem, but because the cost of escalation doesn't stay local. It comes back through energy prices, inflation, military readiness strain, and long term strategic entanglement. So the real question is not emotional, it's structural. Does this approach reduce America's exposure? Or does it lock it in deeper in the conflict cycle? Right now, the US, Israel, Iran triangle is not moving in a straight line. It's moving in a loop. Incident, response, retaliation, diplomacy, another incident. Each actor believes they are stabilizing the situation, but the combined effect is repeated escalation pressure. And the Strait of Hormuz sits at the center of it all as both an economic lifeline and a geopolitical pressure point. So the system doesn't collapse all at once. It tightens step by step, incident by incident, until one moment breaks the pattern. So when you hear debates about strikes, alliances, or political rhetoric, the real question isn't who is being tough. It's whether the system itself is stabilizing or slowly tightening towards the next major escalation. Because in the Strait of Hormuz, small decisions don't stay small for long. And that's where I'll leave you for today. Until next time, this has been Choms Talks, and I am Choms. Stay safe, stay curious, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.